Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nayaswami Padma, and I'm here today to bring you today's noon broadcast with inspiration from the original teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Today I'm reading to you still from Swami Kriyananda's autobiography, The New Path, and the excerpt I selected today is a little longer than usual, so bear with me, but it's also rather fun. It's in chapter 26. Finding those windows, meaning the stained glass windows that he was looking for his new church in Hollywood, finding those windows was a real blessing from God. This is Yogananda speaking now. I wanted stained glass, but everyone insisted, "You can't get that. There's a war on." Still, I knew we would get it. One morning, God showed me in a vision where our windows were sitting, just waiting for us in an old junk store. I went there. "I'm sorry," the owner said, "we have no stained glass here." But I knew better. "Just look once," I pleaded. "I told you," he said, losing his patience, "we haven't any." Growling, he stalked away. I went over to an assistant standing nearby and asked him if he knew of any stained glass in the place. "Boss says no," he replied. His body stooped with lifelong reluctance. "Must be no." "Here are $5, I told him. "I'll give them to you if you can take me where I want to go." At this, he agreed. Together, we went out into the backyard. There, gathering dust against a far wall, was an assortment of old doors and whatnots, but no sign of any stained glass windows. "You see," the man said, lifting his head in an attitude of vindication. "Boss says no, must be no." "Just pull those things away," said Yogananda. "Let's have a look at what's behind them." "Boss," he began a third time. Then he remembered those $5. Willingness may not have been his strong point, but finally, groaning and moaning, he moved everything out of the yard, and there at last, right up against the wall, were our stained glass windows. In the condition they were in, they looked like nothing but junk. The glass panes were in place, but all were hanging loosely and covered with filth. The owner let me have the lot of them for next to nothing, but we fixed them up carefully. Miss Darling saved us thousands of dollars by framing and gold leafing them herself. And now, well, you can see how beautiful they are. I've been told they are valuable. Imagine that. This sort of is a continuity, a continuation is what I'm trying to say, of the prior story of moving the old building into place to fix it up to become the Hollywood Church, rather than building new from scratch because they weren't allowed to. And now here is the follow-up to that of how the stained glass windows in that church came into being. Well, the story here, to my mind, is one of perseverance. Yogananda, of course, had that attunement with God that he knew exactly where to find those windows within the yard of that old junk store. But that's not my point. You and I may or may not have that intuition or that insight to have a direct line to God, to know where we need to find the things we need to find. But what we do have is our willingness to try to attune ourselves to God, to the highest within us, and perseverance. And Yogananda showed that perseverance, and he showed that assistant in the junk store that his perseverance paid off. In the end, it's an invaluable quality to have if we determine to ourselves that we're not going to give up until we succeed. Of course, ultimately at self-realization, at divine cosmic consciousness. But even short of that, in our day-to-day service to others, not to accept no for an answer, to be willing, if it's the right thing, if we know that something has a higher purpose, or we're not just sort of trying to have selfish gain, but we're trying to be helpful to others, and certain things are needed in order to accomplish that, by golly, just roll up our sleeves and not stop until we find that. I can share with you so many times through the years where, by God's grace, perseverance was upon me, and I stuck to it and found the answers I was looking for, even though I was told it would simply not be possible to do so. Everything is possible, absolutely everything, if we persevere to the end, and if it's the right thing, in attunement with the divine will and with truth. Joy to you, and we'll see you again next week. Many blessings. Bye-bye now.